So Megans Law was established after a 1994 rape and murder of Megan Conca, a 7-year-old New Jersey girl who was killed by a neighbor who was a twice convicted sex criminal. States and local authorities must release relevant information that is necessary to protect the public. Megans Law requires sex offenders registration and public notification on the books in all 50 states. Megans Law has caused more harm than good. It is problematic and unable to fix itself. This is why our main proposition tonight is that we must repeal Megans Law. This law is harmful, unnecessary, and ineffective. 3 main problems I found with this law were: 1, it does not give ex-sex offenders the opportunity to go back to their normal lives; 2, it gives a false sense of safety; and 3, it is too extreme. Carol Bell from the Huffington Post wrote an article in which she stated that she has never been a fan of Megans Law. She feels that the punishments, often in prison, and make it almost impossible for convicted sex offenders to make any kind of fresh start. People who transition from prison to society face countless challenges, and most have lived very limited resources. People who want to follow the laws after serving their prison sentence need to establish stability in their homes, jobs, and families. Those are difficult things to achieve, but add to this the consequences of Megans Law and limitations as to where offenders can live. Individuals who are labeled as sex offenders lose jobs, get harassed, and endanger their own lives. Some have even had their homes burned down or have been beaten up. Dealing with this kind of stress is almost impossible. Another report in 1998 by the Renata Times in Virginia quoted a counselor saying that Megans Law may give politicians and the public a false sense of safety. Because the most common type of sex crime so often goes unreported, most sex offenders never become part of the criminal justice system, and therefore they are not effective in Megans Law. It lets us believe that sex offenders have been banished from their neighborhood, or that if sex offenders do live nearby, they will receive a notification of its presence. It will believe that we're fooling ourselves. Sex offenders live in every American community, and children need supervision no matter what. The public feels safe to know that all these criminals are listed, but what if they're listed under the wrong addresses, and in reality, we have one right next door to us and not even know it? The law is useless because, as said by Andrew Bosch, author and attorney who specializes in child protection, Megans Law requires for offenders to be registered. But if a sexual predator was capable of raping and killing children, why wouldn't he be capable of lying about his address? According to the Rockford Register Star, 1/4 of addresses on the child sex offender list of Wyogo, Boone, and Oakley counties in Illinois are wrong. Now remember, this is only of those who are caught, convicted, and have been registered with the authorities. Robert Prankley, a sex offender researcher of the Philadelphia Joseph J. Peters Institute, says that if someone is destined to reoffend, it is obvious that all they will do is get back in the car and drive to a different town when people do not know about them. This is the case of a young girl who was sexually molested at the mall. The predator was convicted sex offender from out of state who was not registered with the local authorities. The law is also too extreme because it is now charging young children, such as usually girls, with various forms of child pornography for posting or texting sexual images of themselves. It has reached such a low point to whereas the very woman who brought about Megans Law is now against it. The case that has caused such outcry involves a 14-year-old girl who's been charged with the distribution of child pornography for posting 30 explicit images of herself on MySpace. Maureen Conca, the founder of Megans Law, says that the teen needs help, not legal trouble. This shouldn't fall under Megans Law in any way, shape, or form. The only person she exploited was herself. If convicted, the teenager could face 17 years in jail or be forced to register as a sex offender for the rest of her life. Another interesting case is the case of F. This case simply F because the offender did not provide us with his full name, but instead only gave us the first letter of his first name. F is now 16. He was convicted of 2 offenses of rape and other serious offenses at the age of 11. He was subject for life to the register's notification requirements. Last year, F's family booked a holiday in Spain, so he was unable to travel as approval had not been given by the High Court. F could still be registered at the age of 70 or 80, even if he has committed no further crimes. Isaac Van Pattern, a counselor who specializes with convicted sex offenders, says that the impact of notification regulations on young children who are in the process of change and development could be significant and inspiring. Children need the chance to mature and change. Megans Law requires creating a CD-ROM database of convicted sex offenders that is now available to the public. The Los Angeles Times reports that this database is training up many ancient cases of men arrested for gay acts in public or semi-public places. One man, for example, was arrested in 1944 for touching the knee of another man in a parked car. He was surprised when his wife collected the mail containing an envelope stamped sex crime in red ink, telling him that he needed to register as a sex offender. Many of these men are going through humiliating confrontations with long-forgotten aspects of their past and complicated and expensive legal procedures to get themselves off the list. It is a real concern, says Susan Goldberg of the Lambang Legal Defense Fund. These laws have the potential to sweep in more people than they should. Those requirements have had a devastating effect on people's lives. Megans Law is harmful, unnecessary, and inefficient for all the reasons I have just mentioned. And although some say that it can be adjusted, experts find it extremely hard to fix all the flaws. Megans Law is an example of a legislation that was passed quickly without securing public opinion through closed community meetings. Necessary and detailed research was not conducted, and this is why it has so many flaws, says Robert E. Freeman Logo, who has been studying the law since it first came out. Rather than banishing sex offenders and asking them to succeed in hostile environments, we should focus resources on programs and policies that would actually reduce the likelihood of sex offenses occurring in the first place. We need to develop and fund public education programs that teach about the effects of sex abuse and the importance of reporting the abuse so it can be stopped. We need to provide mental health treatments for victims and offenders in prison and out. To make real progress in the fight against sexual assault, many activists say that politicians and the public must push for more costly measures. Some suggestions are longer prison sentences, lifelong probation and parole oversight, better funding for the Child Protective Service program, or simply protecting your children on your own. Warning children about known sex offenders is not enough. Child molesters are smooth operators who know how to gain a child's trust. They get jobs or volunteer positions that put them near the potential victims. Therefore, it is important that parents know the people their children associate with in and out of school, make unannounced visits, and keep the lines of communication open. The greatest single protection you can give your child is the sense that they can tell you anything. No law will ever accomplish that.